I will now call to order the special City Council meeting of March 18th, 2024. Members of the public are invited to attend in-person meetings in council chambers. Public access to the meeting is also available by telephone by using the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda. Meetings are broadcast on Channel 8 for Comcast and Xfinity subscribers and on the city's YouTube channel online. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Leidy,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Manjero-Massa,
Here.
Councilmember Burns,
Here.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Here.
Councilmember Kondo,
Here.
Councilmember Roper,
Here.
Councilmember Goff,
Here.
Councilmember Nowicki,
Here.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Manager Guyer, are there any responses to resident inquiry?
One item to share with you, Mayor and Council, this evening. Letters did go out late last week regarding the community meeting that we're going to be holding about the State of Colorado Mental Health Transitional Living Homes off of Grant Street. That meeting is April 3rd at 6:30 p.m. at our North Glen Recreation Center. Diana is actively monitoring Nextdoor as well as social media in general. I was made aware that there was quite a bit of activity on Nextdoor this afternoon. I did receive my first call complaint about from a resident regarding receipt of the letter and concerns about the home. So I did email to all of council the letter that Rep. Wilford sent to the state, and please keep me informed on what complaints, concerns you hear from residents if you need any help responding to those, and I'll do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay. Public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. City Clerk Small, is anyone signed up tonight?
There is no one signed up in advance.
Okay, I don't see anyone in the audience either. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council? You may press *6 to unmute yourself at this time. Okay, we have one proclamation tonight. We're going to just stay here. There's no one scheduled to accept the proclamation, so I'm going to read it from the dais tonight. It is Women's History Month, so here we go. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation and have served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. And whereas the 2024 national theme for Women's History Month is Women Who Advocate for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, recognizing women throughout the country who understand the need and are dedicated to the elimination of bias and discrimination from our lives and institutions. And whereas we also recognize women who serve as leaders and mentors, committed to embracing everyone and excluding no one to achieve freedom and opportunity for other women and girls. And whereas the story of an American women is the story of women of all ages, races, and cultural backgrounds who led the campaigns for equality and civil rights, advanced professional and educational opportunities, founded entirely new enterprises, protected the country in the military, and contributed significantly to the arts, sciences, and humanitarian causes. And whereas, while applauding the achievements and progress of famous and everyday champions of equity, the observance of Women's History Month also reminds us that gender bias still exists. Women remain underrepresented in arenas of power and influence, and women's empowerment in achieving health equity for themselves, while a fundamental right in an ongoing movement, still lags behind men. And whereas Women's History Month highlights the importance of honoring women advocates who pave the way for progress and inspire others to join the movement for equity and inclusion across all sectors, creating a stronger and healthier society for all. Now, therefore, I, Meredith Leidy, Mayor of the City of North Glen, Colorado, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Women's History Month in the City of North Glen and urge all residents to celebrate the achievements and contributions of women, to amplify the voices of women advocates, and to actively support initiatives that promote equality and empower women in our community. Dated at North Glen, Colorado, this 18th day of March, 2024. And I also have some additional notes that are really important facts about our city. So there are many inspiring women who have had a great impact on our city, our country, and the world. Over the years, we have seen progress toward more equal rights for women and efforts to combat sexism, gender biases, and other inequities. In the city of North Glen, the late Mary Ellen Hettlekamp was the first woman elected to city council in November of 1973. Other women who served multiple terms on city council during our formative years include Susan Payne, Kathy Novak, and Joyce Downing. Since 1969, there has been female representation on city council 49 of the city's 56 years. North Glen has had a female mayor 41% of the time. City council was all female in 2021 when the city made great strides opening the new recreation center, senior center, and Parsons Theater, prioritizing investments in city roads and infrastructure, navigating the COVID-19 pandemic, and supporting vulnerable populations. 50% of the city's leadership team are women. The city continues to make strides with women in government on city council, on boards and commissions, in city leadership positions, and in valuable positions throughout the organization who work to ensure that residents are receiving excellent services. True leadership at every level should be celebrated to instill hope and inspire the next generation of women. This month and every month to follow, we invite you to join us by lifting up women's names and their good deeds to recognize their legacy of service, commitment, and sacrifice, especially to younger generations. We must help them know that history is waiting for them, their names too. Lovely. Did anyone want to add or comment on that? Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just briefly, when I was in high school in the 70s, the kind of things that women were not allowed to do, that I never saw examples of or role models for, I can say that just from my own life experience that we've seen a lot of change. And I just want to remind people that the job is not done. we have a ways to go yet, but I do appreciate this proclamation. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, we're good. Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That was beautiful. Very excited to be celebrating Women's History Month. There's a lot going on right now that other people are making decisions about women's lives, specifically next week as well. So I think, just a good show of force here in North Glen, and thank you to all of our DICE members for being very, focused on equality and equity moving forward here in North Glen. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you to yourself and to all of our female leadership that represent our city so well. And that was beautiful, I agree. I agree there's a lot more work to be done, but I'm also very proud to be a part of that change and to be a role model for other women and young girls that are looking to be a part of change. I also didn't have that kind of role models when I was growing up, so this is very important, and the work we do is very important as well, and we're doing it very well. So go City of North Glen. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Walker?
Thank you, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say how proud I am to be from the city of Kansas City that hosted the first female soccer game this Saturday in the first female-only stadium built just for women's sports, and they won that game. So
Wow. That's fun. Thanks for sharing. All right, we're going to move into communications. We'll start with Ward 1, Councilmember Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's nice to be back. Happy belated St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Representing my Irish heritage here. So last week, a majority of us were in Washington DC for the National League of Cities Conference, where we were lucky enough to meet with our Colorado District 8 Representative Yadira Caraveo, where we discussed all of the cool things we're doing here in North Glen, and sort of plugged our name as grants and different things are coming across her desk just to keep us in mind. I highlighted our amazing crew team, and with ARPA funding ending, just keep us in mind and think of solutions to keep crew going. And since I'm the Youth Commission liaison, I figured I will glow just how amazing our Youth Commission did while they were in DC. They are amazing representatives of the city and themselves. I hope everyone peeped them on Representative Caraveo's, Senator Bennett's, and Senate Hickenlooper's social medias. I believe they made all three. They asked very amazing questions. They did a great job. So shout out to the Youth Commission. Because I was in DC, I was not able to make the CCPP board, but they reviewed the bylaws, and that will be discussed next time as an update. So, thanks. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Walker.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to show my appreciation for all the women and their contributions throughout the years and in the future to be. And I did not attend NLC DC this year, so nothing else to report.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I really just want to second everything that Councilmember Burns said about NLC. I had the opportunity to attend, and it was inspiring. I was, again, really impressed with our youth commission. I think everyone else was as well. They're kind of the darling there, I think. I really just also want to thank the city staff, Executive Assistant Baca, City Manager Geyer, and Director Peterson for their support, answering my questions and kind of shepherding me around was very helpful. I had the opportunity, I sit on the North Glen Senior Organization Board. We met today, was our first meeting together, so I had an opportunity to meet the folks at that board over at the Senior Center. It's great, they have coffee and donuts all the time, so I can get behind that. The biggest issue that came up, two things. The meeting on April 3rd to discuss the transitional housing. They had mentioned, some concerns there. And the other thing was parking at the senior center, with everything that's going on. And then, with new development, just to kind of keep parking in mind. So that's all I have to report.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I too attended NLC and it was very impressive. I'm actually wearing a pink shirt today because I'm known as the cherry blossom naysayer. According to the National Park Service, the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. But the reason why is, I'm pretty much I call it like it is. This is Radical Candor, a book that I was handed by Councilmember Burns, and I do call it out as it is. But I was very, very happy to be there. And in all seriousness, I was sitting in the room when our youth council was asking questions of the senators, and I won't say the community, but the council member next to me said, you guys, your youth commission just really knocks it up. The other thing that I think impressed a lot of people a great deal is the trifold handout. I can't tell you how many breakout sessions I was sitting at where, we're talking about our cities, and then I whip this thing out, and they're like, wow, wait a minute, we got to do this. So really hats off to Dinah Wilson and her team for really pulling together. And I don't know if this is available online.
It is available
It
online.
is, okay. It's got really nice stats about the city and all the great things that are. And I just couldn't be any prouder about our city whenever we go out and represent, whether it's at the national or at the state. do want to also thank staff and my guys members for Saturday. I know that we were probably all jet lagged and tired and really injecting coffee just to stay awake. But we spent the entire day going over the strategic plan, looking at the past, but also then kind of figuring out how to project in 5 years into the future. And a lot happened. I'm not going to take a whole lot more time to describe that, but I really personally thought it was very constructive. And I look forward to the opportunity to hear back from the community to respond to what we put down on paper that day. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. March 5th, I did attend the 112th Ditch Update meeting. It's not in my ward, but it is in North Glen, so I thought it was important to go and find out what's going on there. And we do have plans to address some of the issues that we've got going on up there. And then, of course, last week was at the National League of Cities, and I did learn a lot, met a lot of interesting people, and I've actually heard from 2 different neighboring municipalities to ask how we got our youth commission going. Would they join our sort of combined forces and join youth commissions or just various different things? So very impressed with our North Bend youth. And then, of course, on Saturday is strategic planning. And just as Councilmember Kondo said, we're looking forward to hearing from our residents. We really kind of, battled back and forth and hashed things out, and we want to hear from our residents now to see what they want to say and how they can add to our next 5-year strategic plan. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilmember Roper.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, I'll just echo a little bit of what Councilmember Goff said. The strategic planning session on Saturday was so wonderful to be able to come together with leadership and as our council and just really build on what has already been in place and how we could really set ourselves up in the future for success and sustainability. So I thought that was exciting, and I am really excited to also hear about what our residents have to say and their input. That is that
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A few things. I also attended NLC, so I won't repeat a lot of the wonderful things that my colleagues said. I will also echo, because I have to, that our North Bend Youth Commission definitely stole the show. They are brilliant, they are prepared, and it was really wonderful to watch. My key takeaway from that, besides the amazing meetings and the one-on-one meetings that we had with our representatives, is that I also attended the Public Safety and Crime Prevention Federal Policy Committee. And ARPA funding was definitely a huge issue that was brought up. There's a lot of cities that are trying to implement programs like our Crisis Response Unit, which we will hear about later today, and updates. But it was really interesting because a lot of the cities haven't even allocated all of their ARPA funds yet and are looking to implement crew-type programs. But that funding is also running out, and the limit and time on which it needs to be spent is running out. So there was very strong advocacy on the federal level to continue that funding. So very hopeful there that there will be something coming down the road, because everybody understands we need to continue those programs. That was my key takeaway from that, besides all the wonderful meetings. On March 5th, not so good news. I got a call from a resident on Melody, and this is something that everyone should know. A car ran through her yard and into her garden fencing. And so I just thought that I would let everyone know and inform you all, since we literally had this conversation on the day before this happened. It happened, I think it happened the week before, and she just happened to call without knowing that we had discussed it the next day. So I would really love for us to have that discussion sooner than later on, on what that's going to look like in terms of remedies for Melody. I got to stand there and watch the traffic speed down that turn that's further south on Melody, and it's kind of scary to watch. So just want to throw that out there so everybody's aware of what happened. On the 28th, I attended the Family Justice Center community meeting, which is looking at the potential to open a full wraparound service center in a single supportive location for victims of crime in Adams and Broomfield County. Councilmember Kondo was also there, and our city manager was also there as well. And that would be focused on the 17th Judicial District. Our Crisis Response Unit team was there, as well as several staff members. There's a lot of collaboration that would need to happen in order for that to take place, but I think it's extremely important considering when we have programs like our crisis response unit, and that's where our city is heading, that we are able to be a part of that. So more to come on that when, more conversations need to happen, and more collaboration needs to happen as well, but very hopeful there. Councilmember Kondo and I also attended the final Blueprint Task Force meeting. There's still a lot of information that will go out to the public. There's community meetings that are set. I'm happy to email everyone what the results from those sessions were. But it was basically to prioritize or get information from stakeholders on prioritization of funding and possible bonds for building needs and mill levy overrides for programming and operational needs. So that's something that we'll all see very soon as well. And I think that's it. Besides the strategic plan on Saturday, I just want to say that I'm so proud of all of us and our staff because all of our minds together are creating a really great future for Northglen. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Well, a couple of us were holding down the fort while everyone went to NLC. And so I was fortunate to attend the Ralston House dinner. That's one of our most favorite partners, community partners that supports our families. And so to have the opportunity to give back there was important. The North Metro Mayors meet with RTD once a month, and so we had our breakfast, a lot of collaboration there. Mayor Johnston hosted the Metro Mayors Caucus at a Nuggets game, and while it was also fun, and we were excited that they won, it was also a really great opportunity to have those collegial conversations, learn a little bit more about what Denver's up to, and how we can all partner together. Strategic planning was awesome. Not gonna repeat those. And then I just want to elevate and invite residents. Coming up on Saturday is the Farmers Highline Canal Cleanup Event. That'll be on Saturday, and we hope to see you there. City Clerk Small.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do not have any updates tonight.
Okay. City Manager Guyer?
Two quick things. We have the next phase of strategic planning, which is resident engagement, as mentioned by several of you on council. Those dates are April 4th at 6 p.m. That's a Thursday evening, and then a Friday morning, April 5th, 9:30 a.m. As Julia mentioned, she encouraged all of us not to attend. So encourage your residents to attend. So if you can each think of 5 or 10 residents that you think would really be excited about the invite from you to attend one of these engagement sessions or both, please reach out to them. I'll have more information that I'll send out in an email within the next day or two, but those are the dates and the times, and both sessions are at the Northglen Recreation Center. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney Hoffman?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I do not have anything to report tonight.
All right. Okay, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I made it go.
Check.
I will close the consent agenda vote, and it passes unanimously.
Okay, we have a few resolutions tonight. We'll start with CR 67. Will the clerk read the title, please?
A resolution adopting council policies for the city of North Glen, Colorado.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, City Clerk Joanna Small will provide a summary of this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So at the team building session in January, council discussed making revisions to the council policies in 2 sections. It's easiest to see the proposed changes in the staff memo for this item. The first revision was a change to the title of Section 4 and to add the municipal judge to a list of council appointees. So you can see that we have made that change to correspond with that. The next couple changes are regarding the parliamentarian position. There was council consensus to delete the requirement for the mayor to appoint a parliamentarian at council's organizational meeting after every municipal election, so that has been removed. Language was revised to state that the council shall follow Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised as a guide. And then existing language was moved from the parliamentarian section, which states that the chair shall rule on all points of order and procedure. So then, those were the changes that were made based on the direction at the council team building event. While staff was looking at the council policies document, we also identified 3 other sections where revisions were necessary due to actions previously taken by council. In sections 3 and 8 regarding council meetings and boards and commissions, we changed the word chairman to chair to keep that gender silent. And then in section 16, we updated a reference to the parks naming policy to use a new resolution number for the policy that was adopted by council in 2023. So the council policies document that's attached as Exhibit A to the resolution includes all of these revisions in the final proposed format. Staff recommends approval of CR 67 based on council's direction, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Is there any discussion on this item? Councilmember Kondo?
Yes. In general, I agree with all these changes. I think one thing that would be helpful, if since we are dispensing with having a parliamentarian, is perhaps maybe each member of the days should receive what is known as Bob's Rules of Order, which is, it was authored by the former Colorado Municipal League past president. I think that book is now available.
Absolutely.
And it's like 70 pages as opposed to 200. So I would like to propose that we at least be recipients of that document to help us be better in our jobs.
Is that different than what you emailed all of council?
Well, it's a book. I did not email all of council. I think I might have indicated that it's now finally finished.
Okay. I'm totally fine with that. Anyone want a copy?
Is there support for this?
Yeah.
Sure.
Great, thank you.
So, City Manager Guyer, can you order 9 copies of that?
Well,
Is
can I
that
ask for
necessary?
clarification?
I know, I don't.
So since Bob's Rules of Order is a separate document, which I have the understanding that it is different from Robert's Rules of Order newly revised, I would be curious if council is wanting a revision to the council policies, if you're going to change the guiding document for council meetings, but I would probably want input from the city attorney on that as well.
Oh, now I understand. I think I misunderstood what Councilmember Kondo was requesting. Do we all have Robert's Rules of Order in our drawers?
No, not all of council. There should be a copy up there, maybe in the mayor's drawer, or maybe or maybe
know
I
I
took
have
it
one.
upstairs when the parliamentarian left.
Okay. I mean, since our council document includes the full, I think we should use the real one. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have the same comment?
Oh, no, my comment was that that version is available on CML's website. You can download the PDF. That was just,
Oh,
I was just throwing that out there.
that's what I thought Councilmember Kondo emailed. Yeah.
That's all, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to know, just what are the new simplified guidelines for naming parks, just for everybody new onto the dais and everybody else who may be interested in what that procedure looks like?
Park naming procedure?
So that was a resolution that was adopted by city council in May of 2023. So that revised policy came before the council, and that was after a recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. So it's been adopted separately. It's just referred to in the council policies document, so we updated the reference to that. And I cannot remember the change off the top of my head that was made to that policy.
The duration of time for public input.
Okay, the duration of time for the public input on when a naming proposal is submitted.
Extended it.
So is it extended or,
Extended to 90 days.
okay. And, all right. And it seems like we could just download the Bob's,
Yeah, so what I was noticing, Councilmember Condo, is it was February 27th of last year that you emailed that to all of that council. I had it pinned and it's just saved in my email. Do you want to just send that again? I don't know that
What
we
I
need
have is
the
a
vote.
presentation from the 2023 CML Annual Conference, but it was just a PowerPoint. It was not the book. The book was not yet released.
Yeah, I don't know that we need the book. Is this the, I don't know, what you sent us in February is the document. It's not a presentation.
Madam Mayor, that is the one, the book, the newest one is available online on CML. You can
PDF.
download in PDF.
Is that what I sent then in February?
It's a
It is the most
PDF.
updated one.
Okay.
I mean, you could resend it so the new council members have it. I just, yeah. I mean, we
Yeah, I
use
think
it.
what I sent was the link.
The language that we changed at the retreat is that we use it as a guide. City Attorney Hoffman, did you want to add?
Yeah, to the city clerk's point, I don't think necessarily having Bob's rules handy is inconsistent with having Robert's rules as a guide, but they are different. What Mr. Widener was attempting to do with Bob's rules is create a simplified rule of procedure for council. And I think what council was trying to do by using Robert's rules as a guide was the same thing. So they are complementary, but as long as it's not used as, if it's only used as a guide, they are consistent. And they can kind of both be a guide. So I think it's council's discretion if all 9 of you want it. It's another tool in the toolbox.
Now that I realize how easy it is to find on the CML website, I don't think we need to purchase it. I would also call council back to the team building day and the focus and all of the work that we did around council protocols. And I think if we lean into that, and one of those pieces is to hold each other accountable, I think that's satisfactory. Jay, did you have your hand up second time or?
No.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 67 passes unanimously.
CR 78, will the clerk read the title, please?
A resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between Adams County and the cities of Aurora, Brighton, Commerce City, Federal Heights, North Glen, and Westminster to provide engineering services to conduct the Adams County Comprehensive Safety Action Plan study.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, our Director of Planning and Development, Brooks Svoboda, is here to provide a summary of the item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an IGA that will put forward a comprehensive safety action plan. So think of safe streets on steroids. This is a countywide exercise where the county was the lead on this and going after federal funding to secure this project. We are contributing $15,000 to a $2 million project. That is based on our pro rata share on population for the local match. This is basically going to be looking at all the streets within North Glen on accident history and looking at developing a specific work plan for North Glen in order to perpetuate ongoing safety and roadway improvements. We will be focusing on arterial collectors, and then also residential streets. With that being said, we are recommending approval of this, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions or comments? Oh, Mayor Pro Tem?
Sorry, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one quick question. I saw somewhere in there that Thornton is waiting on a different grant, and if they get that grant, then they won't be a part of that shared portion?
Potentially, yes.
Potentially. Does that change our portion at all?
No.
That's my only question, thank you.
What we would do is it'd be less scope within the project, so the overall budget would just adjust down because we wouldn't be doing their specific area.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 78 passes unanimously.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution CR 79, will the clerk read the title, please?
A resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of North Glen and Adams 12 5-star schools for the provision of Colorado Discharge Permit System, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, Storm Sewer Phase 2 Permit Services.
Move for approval?
Second.
Environmental Manager Tammy Moon is here to provide a summary.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. In front of you, you have a resolution to approve an intergovernmental agreement with Adams 12 5-star schools. They have a municipal storm sewer permit with the state, as does the City of North Glen. And this IGA simply allows their stormwater from their facilities to enter the City of North Glen's stormwater system and then proceed through City of North Glen into our receiving waters for stormwater management. It's basically simply says that the City of North Glen is willing to take stormwater from their facilities, and if a stormwater discharge from a school facility is deemed to be an illicit discharge, the city has the ability to enforce upon its municipal code requirements and enforcement actions for illicit discharges. And staff does recommend approval of this IGA.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Maybe for the benefit of the council, if you could just kind of define what illicit discharge is.
Certainly. So an illicit discharge is considered any sort of compound, chemical, stormwater runoff that would enter the City of North Glen's stormwater system that is considered to be of poor quality. Typically, we would consider illicit discharges to have something like heavy solids or lots of leaves, somebody dumping oil down the storm drain, or chemicals, solids, just any type of compound that would come into our storm drain that we cannot manage, can be harmful to the environment, and is not allowed under the city's municipal code.
Thank you. Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Kind of following up on Councilmember Condo's question, how would we know that that came from a school or North Glen school?
Sure. So the school district's their MS4 permit does have a requirement to report to the city if something should come from from a school property into our storm system. A lot of times illicit discharges into the municipal storm system are really difficult to find and track, but there is a requirement that if they were to have, say, a spill of, if a vehicle spilled its gas tank or something like that. They had an accident on a school property and it was raining or something like that, and gasoline or oil came into washed off of their property into our storm drain. They would have a requirement to report that to the city directly.
Is there a time frame for that?
They should do that immediately.
Okay, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 79 passes unanimously.
CR 80, will the clerk read the title, please?
A resolution approving a professional services agreement between the City of North Glen and Coal Creek Excavation Incorporated for the Terminal Reservoir Riprap Repair Project.
Move for approval?
Second.
All right, Director of Public Works, Kent Kisselman, is here to provide a summary.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
One day hiatus. So this is a resolution Each year, we get an annual inspection from the state engineer on our high hazard dams. We have, Tammy, two, yes, I was gonna say two. Bull Reservoir and the Terminal Reservoir at the water plant. So we get inspections on those, and they come up with various items that we may need to fix or replace and do. Well, this time our inspection came up that we need to do some rip-rap repair inside the reservoir itself. So this is, we went out for bid, and Coal Creek Excavation was the lowest responsible bidder. They're also, by the way, doing the Northwest Open Space Bridge, so we do have familiarity with them at this point. And the total cost of the project, including contingency, is $205,544.73. And staff recommends approval as presented. I will answer any questions you may have.
Any question? Thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Mayor? can I ask
Oh,
one thing?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get there in time. Mr. Ken, I was just curious. Canyon West was lower by about 50,000. They had the addendum, and I'm just curious, can you share why they were not chosen? Page 3.
I think Tammy helped review those, so I'll let Tammy.
So we decided to move forward with Coal Creek Excavating as opposed to the lowest bidder because the lowest bidder actually had zero experience working with water-related infrastructure. And given that this facility is a high hazard dam and it is underneath the purview of the state dam inspector and engineer division, we really felt that it was valuable to have a contractor that was on board, that was familiar with working with water-related, specifically ditches and dams, doing this work for us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's my last question.
Councilmember Condo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to know that this repair activity is not going to disrupt city services or cause any changes in water quality or anything like that?
It will not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. I will close that vote, and CR 80 passes unanimously.
CR 81, will the clerk read the title, please?
A resolution approving an agreement between the City of North Glen and Stone and Concrete Incorporated for the Water Treatment Facility Improvements Project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Director of Public Works, Ken Kisselman, is back to provide a summary of this item.
Good evening again. So this is a resolution with respect to our water treatment facility. We recently underwent the backwash project, and they did some paving out there. So we want to continue and enhance the facility with the integration of our new maintenance team out there and the remodeling of there. We have kind of a lot more staff members, and so the operators are now utilizing the front of the building, and the front of the building has been kind of a disaster for a number of years. So the steps are crumbling, and we've talked about for 5 years or more about erecting some flagpoles up there so that when folks drive by, although they think it's Westminster, that we can fly our flag and they can know it's North Glen. So we're gonna do some paving improvements, fix those stairs in the front of the entrance and erect those flagpoles. And the total cost of this project is $202,100.80. That includes the contingency, and staff recommends approval as presented.
Pretty straightforward. Thank you. Please open the vote.
Thank you.
The vote is open. I will close that vote, and CR 81 passes unanimously.
All right, moving into our 2 discussion items tonight. The first one is the Crisis Response Unit update. So the Group Program Manager, Jessica Hulse, will provide a summary to council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here to do our quarterly update. I think I should have a PowerPoint. Does it turn on? Do I turn it on?
Right.
Maybe it's not on this way.
So as we're waiting for that to get going, I'll introduce myself real quick. I know this is my first presentation in front of our new council members. So my name is Jessica Holst. I manage our crisis response unit. We are part of the city management team, and we are housed out of the North Glen Police Department. I do come here on a quarterly basis and give you guys updates on our crisis response unit. So that's what I'm here to do tonight.
Is it turned on?
Okay, so the crew works to ease hardships for residents of the city of North Glen, and we do that by aiding police response and creating a path for self-advocacy using an on-scene crisis response team, case management, and conflict resolution. And you'll see some of that work demonstrated in some of the case studies that I talk about later. Part of the background of the crew is that we were approved by City Council in October of 2021. We take our referrals from 4 different main referral sources, which is our police department, our code enforcement team, our municipal court, and self-referrals from individuals themselves. And then we also have started highlighting that we receive quite a few community referrals. So community referrals are from other city staff, from council members themselves, from schools, from hospitals, from the fire department, and so on. Currently, the crisis response unit is covered through ARPA. That money is set to end at the end of 2024. And we also provide monthly updates on our website, which is northglen.org/crew. You guys might have noticed the difference in the format, and I'm hoping that makes it a little bit easier to decipher all the information we send out. So as a 2023 recap, I just wanted to provide some numbers, especially for new council members coming on, so they can see the wide range of people that we are working with. So these are new referrals that the crew received through 2023. And the reason I break it out with people experiencing homelessness is because our crisis response unit here in the city of North Glen has a 2-prong approach. We're crisis intervention with our police department, but we are also homeless intervention. And that's different from surrounding municipalities that have different homeless liaisons. So we are continuously reporting on 2 different sets of data here. So the North Glen Police Department, they referred 303 individuals to the crew, and 78 of those people were experiencing homelessness at the time that they were referred. Our municipal court, they referred 2 new individuals. We certainly worked with more people with our municipal courts, but they were already clients of the crew. Our neighborhood services, they referred 16 new individuals. Our community referred 37 new individuals, 26 of which were experiencing homelessness. And then our self-referrals, when people walk in or call on the phones, 173 new individuals referred themselves to us, which 119 of them were also experiencing homelessness. Something to note with those self-referrals is we do offer resource hours, which I will get to later in our presentation, but it does provide a space for people who might not necessarily be living here in North Glen, but might be using facilities or working here in North Glen to receive case management. So it does not necessarily mean that we have 224 at our total number of people down at the bottom experiencing homelessness here in North Glen, but it is 224 people that we have worked with. So when we look at our North Glen Police Department referrals in 2024, so those were our 2023 numbers, moving to 2024, we have had 160 interactions, and this was up until about 2 weeks ago, that have been initiated through our police department in 2024. 76 of those interactions, the main concern at the time was mental health. 35 of those main concerns were behavioral health. There's a differentiation there. Sometimes you can have a behavior when we're having a conflict with a neighbor, when you're having conflict within a family that's not necessarily rooted in mental health, but it's still something that might not rise to a criminal or safety. So crew is used to help with that conflict that's happening in the behavior concerns. When we do go out, we did provide de-escalation services 42 times within those 160 interactions. When we were on scene, we also helped divert 3 arrests this year so far, helped divert 4 mental health holds so far this year. When we were on scene, 10 of those scenes ended in the person choosing to go to a hospital, which is the desired outcome if a hospitalization is needed, because it's proven by studies that when a person chooses to go to the hospital, the outcomes for the person is going to be much more positive than if it's mandated. And then 13 of those interactions did result in a mental health hold. So when I'm giving the quarterly updates, I've decided to start bringing in some case studies to show some of the variety of reasons the crew is called out. So our first case study through the police department is with a youth that was in our community. And the youth was a chronic runaway kiddo that was experiencing a lot of different conflicts in their home. And since the crew started working with the family, we coordinated efforts with Thornton Police Department, with Child Protective Services, with the court systems, with our police department, and we have been able to place the kiddo in a safe environment through a lot of those different interactions and recommendations. The crew continues to work with the kiddo while they are in the safe environment to make sure that they stay stabilized. I'm happy to report that they have not run away once since they have been in the new supportive environment. And we are working to make sure that that kiddo is connected to all of their educational needs and supportive needs while they are not in their home at the moment. Another person came to the crew, and this person has what's SPMI, so severe and persistent mental illness, and they live independently in our community with the support of their parents who don't live with them. This person was found to be gravely disabled, and they were very scared and unable to communicate. They were able to connect with a member of our crew unit, so one of our co-responders, who continued to go to the hospital with that person, sat with them through their entire physical examination, and continued to bring continuity of care. Since that person was hospitalized, we've been helping the family as they transition to having that person back in their own home, making sure that they have safety plans, connections to their therapists, and connections to their court-mandated medications. So hopefully helping them feel safe in their home as they reintegrate. With our municipal court, I was reporting on this at the end of last year as well. A new court system is being developed, and it's still going through a review process, through that development process, to bring best practices for people who are kind of stuck or going through a cycle of using that court. Other places call it community court, or I think Boulder calls it homeless court. So it's for people who aren't able to become court compliant on their own, most likely due to needs. Are you okay? Okay. Okay. So when that plan is fully drafted, it will be submitted to City Attorney Corey Hoffman for his review and then presented. For our municipal court, I chose to focus on a client, and this is one of the reasons why municipal courts refer people to us. So if you pay attention to our dockets, sometimes you'll see the same name over and over again. And it's people who aren't able to make it to their court appointments. And sometimes the court loses track, especially when the person is experiencing homelessness, and sometimes the person loses track that they're supposed to be going to court. So the crew often acts as a connector there, helping people understand when their appointments are. They can always ask us. We have access to that information, and we can help them understand. Currently, we have a client who was just referred to us through our municipal court. We have not been able to track that person down, but when we do, then we'll be able to make contact and help them understand. And this hopefully will divert a situation where that person has a warrant, that they would not they would not know that they were going to have a warrant. So this just demonstrates the inter-city relationships that we have with our different departments, that even when a referral hasn't been made, we're still working with each other to help people through the struggles that is sometimes complicated and confusing. For our neighborhood services, which is what oversees our code enforcement team, we've had 0 referrals so far in 2024. Our code enforcement team really starts going more in April because we work with a lot of people who are just not able to stay compliant with their landscaping. And since we're still in the dormant season, we just haven't had a lot of referrals coming from our code enforcement team yet. We're still finishing with 2 of our referrals from 2023. So because of this, we don't have any case studies yet through the neighborhood services, but when we do, what you will be seeing are people who are experiencing some kind of crisis. That's going to be a mental health crisis, a physical health crisis, or a financial crisis. Some of our past examples have been people who are living with PTSD, high anxiety disorders. They are shifting to a fixed income and they don't know how to work with their new budget. And those are what you'll expect to see on that page. In 2024, we've had 5 community referrals so far. Like I said earlier, these will come from hospitals, schools, concerned residents, city staff, and council members, as well as our fire department. A good case study of a community referral is an elementary school called The Crew because they're having a kiddo adjust to having a new medical diagnosis, and which is causing some behavioral issues going on in school. The family itself is also adjusting to this new medical diagnosis and is having to balance many different children within the household. So trying to get a handle on how to treat their medical diagnosis as well as the behavioral concerns and transition out of homelessness into a more stable living environment. So there's just a lot of transitions. The crew started working with the kiddo, and we started going to the school on a weekly basis, bringing journals, bringing de-escalation techniques, helping them understand their medical diagnosis. And the schools reported that the students' behavior has improved considerably. And so we've continued to provide support that way. And the student, we asked them how they are feeling, if they want us to continue our support, and they say that they feel less angry and would like for that to continue. So the crew also works with our population experiencing homelessness, and we mainly do this through our resource hours, which is when we're able to provide consistent case management. People can walk in and they can see us on a voluntary basis. We have moved those resource hours from this building up to the Justice Department at the beginning of February. We saw a slight drop in attendance. That's okay, because we have not seen a drop in the work that's getting done. And that is because what we noticed was when it was down at this building, we saw a lot more like socialization happening. And when people are coming up to the Justice Department, they are coming to kind of focus on the case management that they're doing. We're able to provide a quieter area to get that case management done. And so we're seeing really good work that's happening there. So I'm not concerned that we aren't providing the same services. The same people that we were seeing down here have made the transition to coming up and seeing us, and we're offering all the same services up there. The crew does still work in partnership with our Parks Department every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to do rounds around Civic Campus. That includes the underpass under I-25, E.B. Rains Park, and then the City Hall and Rec Center grounds. A case study I wanted to share tonight, I have 2. One, we had been working with a very large family, so it was multi-generations. It was a 3-generation household, split into 2 different vehicles. These people had been living in their vehicles for approximately 2 years. The main family member was a veteran and was fully eligible for all of their veteran benefits. However, they did not want to leave the other family unit that was in the other car. So we were able to work with Veteran Affairs and get them all combined into one family unit. They are able to then get housed. All of their kiddos had been students here in North Glen, so their kids had always maintained their student hours and going to school, which was great. So we were able to keep them here in North Glen, so their school will stay the same. And then, so that was a single-family home that ended up housing 3 adults, 5 children, and 2 dogs. And so we were able to find assist finding a lease that would house everyone. That was a big one. Our other one, you might have seen on social media, we had a guy who was also a veteran, and he was fully employed. He had fallen onto hard times. He had moved into his car, which then had broken down, and then so he was renting a car every month and then able to work using that car, but all of his income was going to supporting that rental. So we were able to work again with Veteran Affairs, find a flex funding account with Adams County as well, and then we were able to help that person put down a down deposit on a car, so then now they're able to own a car, so all of their extra income can go towards saving for their own place after this. So that was a fun win. So our housing outcomes for 2023, as a recap, so we were able to house 19 individuals using a housing voucher, getting them connected to a housing voucher. We were able to house 3 individuals in transitional housing. Transitional housing usually lasts for 2 years and works to connect people to longer-term permanent housing. 1 person chose to go move in with a friend and family, and 2 were able to move into their own independently supported homes for a total of 25. 2024 to date, this has grown actually by 4 for this month as well. So these are dated numbers from like 2 weeks ago when I put this together. But we had the 9 independents with vouchers, so voucher supported housing, 1 into transitional housing, 1 into independently supported. We've since moved another family into independently supported housing, so that's 3 more individuals, and then another person into a voucher supported housing for this month as well. So something to know about our crisis response unit, we are connected to all the other co-response programs of Adams County. So I heard quite a few of you talk about co-response units from the NLC and are learning about different models. So I always like to present this because even here in Adams County, we see a wide different versions of what co-response looks like. So here in North Glen, what you are supporting is, and what the city is supporting, is we have an internal co-response team, meaning that we are hired here by the city. We're also an unpaired program, so we are not paired directly with an officer. We arrive on scene separately from them. And then I started putting an asterisk because I'm letting you know that our co-response team also is our homeless liaison team here in North Glen. So Westminster, they also have an internal co-response team that is unpaired, so they are not partnered directly with an officer. They have their own homeless liaison team in Westminster as well that's separate from their co-responders. Federal Heights has an internal co-response team. It is unpaired, and they also run homeless liaison. I think they have a one-person situation right now who's on medical leave, so their program is at a standstill at the moment. Adams County has a co-response team, and it's a contracted, so it's an external program. They contract through WellPower, and they also have a separate homeless liaison team. Brighton has an external team, so they contract through Reaching Hope, and they do not have a homeless liaison team. And then Thornton has an internal co-response team. It's a paired approach, so their mental health clinicians are paired with an officer all day long. This is just this is a list of what the crew is also involved in around Adams County. So we sit on the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council that focuses on mental and behavioral health. We hosted the Bridge Summit last year. We participate in M-Team meetings, which is for adult protection. We participate in the SWAP Summit. The SWAP is Adams County's approach to emergency sheltering, so it's the hotel vouchers that go out during the cold weather. We did facilitate the Built for Zero meetings for Adams County for 2023. They hired an intern that's going to host or facilitate those meetings now. We're still part of them. We helped City of Delta. We helped them with their program development. The Community Services Block Grant Advisory Council, we sit on that. We hosted the DA, Brian Mason, for a roundtable and ride-along. We participated in the National Co-Responder Conference, and we presented there. We participate in the Adams County Detox Crisis Center Communications, and we also do the monthly meetings with co-responders with Public Health Department that's doing an assessment on co-response in Adams County. For a budget, we are budgeted for 1 program manager and 4 co-responders. We have an operating budget of $506,662. So that's $440,000 towards personnel and $64,000 roughly towards services and supplies. Crew was awarded, this is exciting. We applied for and were awarded the full amount that we applied for. So it's $202,500 through $500,000 through the opioid settlement. This is money that is being distributed through the federal, through a settlement with the, have you guys heard about it? I see nods, okay. It's a settlement through lawsuits of the opiate crisis. And so that's being distributed to local and regional areas. City of Northglenn put our money for this year into the regional pot that was then awarded through an advisory council. We applied for $202,500 to go towards putting 5 individuals into a 1-month-long residential program for opiate and mental health disorders. So it's a comorbid treatment program. And then we also can put 5 individuals into at least 2 months of sober living. So it'll impact 10 individuals. And then we had some extra funding for transportation to and from their programs, as well as detox services if needed. And that's it. Any questions?
Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, bravo on really getting that 202,000 grant. That's really, I think that speaks volumes about how you're going out and finding resources, which was a very consistent message during NLC. It's like, there's a lot of money sitting out there. Go and apply for your grants. And so I'm glad that you're doing that. I guess I'm just going to make a comment. It seems like there's a lot of activity going on behind the curtain with grant applications that we as a council aren't really, we don't have that visibility. So I wonder if it was worth having a conversation or figuring out if there's a dashboard or something out there, maybe I'm not aware, just so that we can have an idea of how many grants we are applying for. It certainly would give me a little bit more comfort, you know, when I go to these meetings and making sure that we're not leaving money on the table. You're looking at me like I'm on my mind, or,
No, carry on.
okay. I do have several questions. I hope you don't mind.
No.
Appreciate the case study, the very first case study involving the student. Did that involve being able to put that individual into the youth shelter that I think was established in Thornton City?
The Empowerment Center for
Yes.
youth? No,
Okay.
we did not use that. In fact, that opened, I think, like the next week.
Okay, gotcha. I just want to know, because when we socialize with other council members, I want to kind
Yeah,
of say thank you for doing that, but, okay, thank you for that.
it's a needed service, but for that individual, we did not need it.
Okay,
Yeah.
understand. The other thing that I'm wondering about is, you know, clearly, when you look into the news, other municipalities are starting to say no to migrants and all of that. And I'm just trying to figure out, I know that we're monitoring for that. Are we creating a separate metric or category so that we could start to determine whether they're coming into this area or not? Or do they get lumped into persons experiencing homelessness?
So unless the person tells us that they are a migrant, it's not a common question we ask. At this point in time, we have not had a language barrier yet with any of our people, and we haven't heard that as a backstory when we are doing case management. It is something that I am listening for and wondering when we will start to see any impact from the migrants, but we haven't yet. And it's something I can certainly keep, I can figure out a way to keep that data, if that's something you're interested in.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, because obviously, it seems like it's a matter of time as they start to spread out from Denver to other adjacent municipalities. So, and my last question, first of all, the Bridge Summit, I thought that was a great sort of kickoff, and I'm curious as to what are the next steps, or what's the next thing that we need to do to kind of continue to build on that foundation.
So I think there was some talk about a task force happening from elected officials. I would have to circle back and see if that's still something that people are interested in, if council's interested in doing that. That was the takeaway from me, is that people are ready to see those conversations elevated. And I think there will be some information from the county coming out about like regional alignments and that sort of thing, which will play into that conversation. And there might be space being created for those conversations without Northglenn taking the lead on creating task forces. So that's information that I'm waiting for them to consolidate and put forward for a presentation. And we will have them come and present to council when they are ready.
Okay, great, thank you.
City Manager Guyer, did you want to add on to that? Because I know you were talking to the county.
Yeah, Jessica did a great job explaining what we know to date. So hugely successful event. The county, we had, I think, 2 or 3 follow-up conversations with Adams County and the team in terms of next steps. They do want to see the work continue and want to play more of an active role in leading that work, as Jessica alluded to. So given the lift that it would take, Jessica and I talked, and we're okay with taking a bit of a step back and working with them to lead that effort. I do know that I probably think it's an appropriate time for me just to reach out to Noel and really make sure that that's on his radar screen, the county manager. I do know from the presentations that Jessica shared with me and the work they're doing in terms of regional alignment, a big piece of what they've done is really hone into what are the county's priorities. And so I've communicated with Jessica that I do want the county team to come to council and present and, really ensure, okay, this is what the county believes are their priorities. For example, addressing veteran homelessness, youth homelessness, assisting individuals who are survivors of domestic violence. Those are 3 examples of, I think, a list of 5 different areas. Is there alignment there? And make sure that your voices are part of that conversation. And so, like Jessica mentioned, we're just waiting for them to wrap up those pieces, and then we'll get them scheduled to present to council.
City Manager Guyer, do you think there's a need for elected officials to get the conversation started at some point? When is our next AdCog meeting?
The next AdCog meeting, I'm sorry, I know I have the date in my calendar. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I can find it. Perhaps.
Okay.
Jessica, when you guys last met, did they talk about outreach, like a schedule or anything like that?
No, so the Regional Alignment on Homelessness was a monthly meeting. It is now broken into 2 different meetings that are held twice a month. That they're more like working groups, so hopefully more recommendations and action plans will come from the working groups rather than just a convening of the minds. So that's hopefully what's going to be presented, and then figuring out what is realistic with actual space and finances and who wants to start implement what money. So one of the working groups is about what grants and funding and that sort of thing, and the other one is types of beds that are recommended. So we are participating in those.
The next AdCog meeting, Mayor Lighty, is Wednesday, May 22nd, and Arvada is hosting that meeting. How about as a action item, based on this conversation, I follow up with Noel and provide council with more information?
Let me know.
Okay.
Great. Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Program Manager Hulse. This is a great presentation. Always love when you are here, because it just makes me feel a lot better that we're helping so many people. Two sort of question comments. So Q1 2024 looks about 50%-ish of 2023. How do we feel about that?
With individuals,
Yeah, and just your last couple slides there about like how many, hold on, what were the exact stats you gave? Yeah, your vouchers to families, 9, we did 19 last year in 2023, we already have 9.
Uh-huh.
Is that correct? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's almost half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
And
so, and that's actually not more than 9 because of that other one that's not included yet. So it's really difficult to pin down the voucher programs because, like Councilmember Kondo pointed out, people find pockets of grant money and then create programs. So there was a program created at the end of 2023, I think it was in October. And because we have a paired response, and the program was the Olmsted Housing Voucher Program. And Adams County received 15 housing vouchers through that Olmsted Housing Program. Those housing vouchers were dedicated for people who were living in an institution. So jail, hospitals, medical facilities. Because when I was sharing how we are a paired response with our homeless liaisons and our co-response, as soon as our co-responder unit knew that one of our clients was entering into an institution, because we are much more connected with people who are transporting to those institutions, then we were able to do immediate referrals. So if we heard that one of our clients was facing a institution, we would immediately make the referral. So we were able to capture, I think, and I don't know the total number, I think we were able to capture 8 of the 15 of those housing vouchers for the City of North Glen clients. So that allowed us to capitalize on those housing vouchers. Now, there's only 15, they've all been distributed, so those aren't going to be a resource anymore. So we are now back to what's the typical way, and I can do an entire presentation on housing. But to refer someone for a housing voucher, there's a couple of different vouchers. There's the Section 8 housing vouchers, and Section 8 is opened by housing authorities. Those housing authorities typically open their wait lists for 2 days out of every year, and then that's when you get your clients on the list. They then work off of that list for the next 12 months. And then if your name is not called during that 12 months, then you need to get your name back on that list when the wait list opens for the next 2 days. So we watch for when those waiting lists are happen. We've been able to house people that way. It's far and few between those cases. And then the other way is through the One Home program. So One Home is managed through Metro Denver Homeless Initiative. MDHI is the acronym you might have heard. MDHI is our continuum of care for this area of Colorado. There's 4 continuum of cares in the state of Colorado. Our continuum of care goes from South Denver up to Boulder County, and I think Adams County, basically the I-25 corridor, up and down all of those different counties. So Denver County, Boulder County, Weld County, parts of Weld County, Arapahoe, large amounts. And so that's where the federal dollars go from the HUD. And then we refer clients through the Homeless Management Information System, which is a software program. We do the risk assessment with our clients, and then they get allotted different types of vouchers. So again, that's more of a lottery system or the priorities that MDHI creates. So they might say that this number of vouchers are going to go towards people experiencing homelessness for over 2 years. This number of vouchers is going to go towards people who are experiencing people experiencing homelessness with this number of disabilities. And so it's really up to them to figure out where the priorities go, and that's with MDHI. And so then we just get alerted, and then we work with that person with their voucher. And that's the second most popular way that we are able to house people. And then the first most popular way we're able to house people, what you're seeing those numbers reflect, is the Olmsted Housing Voucher.
That is no more.
No. They might be trying to apply for more. However, I can keep going. So the Olmsted Housing Voucher Program has stipulations from the state, and whereas they had been saying that a person had to be in the institution for up to 2 weeks, they are now saying 120 days. So those referrals are going to be a lot harder to find, because it's hard to find someone who's been in a hospital for 120 days, or even a jail for 120 days. So those referrals would be harder, even if they are able to secure more housing vouchers.
So what I'm gathering from you then is that, are we anticipating the amount of vouchers we've ever able to secure and give out to drop the rest of the year?
It's possible, but there's always more programs that are trying to be written and more money that's trying to be allocated towards housing.
Okay, we're very optimistic. I'm loving this. So it does sound like you're very busy and you know what there's a lot going on. And one of the stats that I see that seems to be missing from this deck that you have often shared with us is how many cases per day y'all are dealing with.
Yes, and I think just because I recapped in 2023, we are still holding steady at around 13.6. I did look that up. It is still one of the stats that's on our website, and what that number reflects is the number of interactions that we are having. So with the PD, I said we had 160 interactions to date as of 2 weeks ago when I made this presentation. So there's still more interactions that are self-initiated, that are code enforcement initiated, that are muni court initiated. So those numbers are still on our data online, and I will bring those back as we.
Just wanna keep an eye.
Yep.
You know? It's another fiscal year, so let's just keep an eye on that. Thank
Yep.
you so much.
Yeah.
Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Program Manager Hulse, for being here. And thank you for the new format in the emails. It makes it much easier to kind of read and decipher. And I thought the case studies were a nice addition as well. On page 10 of the slide deck, you delineated mental health and behavioral health.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. So I talked a little bit about it. So when we're going on scene and it's just a conflict, that's more of a family conflict, or sometimes if it's simply substance use disorder, we will think about it as more as behavior, like the behavior is what's calling us out at the moment, not the root cause is the mental health. And so we will call it that. So sometimes when we're called to schools and it's a kiddo having a really difficult time in the school for whatever reason, we will call that behavioral health if we don't have a mental health diagnosis, or if we don't even really suspect that there is one.
And do you all carry a caseload?
We don't. We share our caseload. So we use Apricot, and that's because of our staffing. So our staffing is staggered. So, for example, Tristan is here with me this evening, but then just because of the way that our staffing is, we don't want someone to miss out on a Monday meeting or a Monday case management session or a Monday visit just because that staff member is not in at the moment. So we share a caseload.
Okay. And how big is your caseload, the kind of shared caseload?
That would be a question I'd have to get back to you on. So if you think that if we are seeing approximately 13.6 people per day, I can't say how many unique individuals that is without having my data in front of me, but we have between anywhere from 13 to 20 contacts per day. And then on weekends, when we only have Tristan on Saturdays and Sundays, we're going to have lower contacts because we don't have that full 6 a.m. till 10 p.m.
I guess what I'm kind of getting at is if there are any kind of concerns about this kind of, kind of caseload growing, and I suppose my concern is you guys taking on the bulk of kind of Adams County issues.
Sure. So a lot of our police departments, so we have a difference with, we have crisis intervention and then we have case management. So crisis intervention, so we get called out to an on-scene with an officer. We're going to follow up with that person. Our regular protocol is twice. And then if they want to engage in further services, then we can certainly offer that. We don't say no. But if after 2 times they've made the connections to the referrals that we've put out there, then that person's off our caseload, and someone else has moved on. Our longer-term case management certainly comes in our housing clients, because that's going to be a much longer lift on case management than someone who's having, a mental health crisis in their home that's due to a triggering event. So all of our focus is on people who are in North Glen for one reason or another. If a person comes into North Glen and they only want case management just because they have heard of us, we get them connected to a place where they are. We don't continue to provide case management for people who do not have a connection to North Glen, if that's the concern.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for this presentation. I really do appreciate the case studies, because that helps make those connections as to how you're helping folks. And they're pretty incredible. So thank you for that. And also that we're way ahead of the game, just coming back from NLC and seeing how many cities are just trying now to stand up a program like this. And we're years ahead of the game. So thank you for doing that. My question is around the Carl's Farm East Lake area. I heard just recently, was shown some pictures of the fire that was there, started by an encampment, and some paths that are being well worn in there, and shopping carts left in there and whatnot. And there's concerns, for the people that are experiencing homelessness there, more of a safety hazard point of view. And I'm just curious to know if you've had a lot of interactions with folks there, what your perspective is on the challenges that are potentially in that area, things like grills and stuff that are popping up, and those are the concerns, right? That they're hazards.
Yep. Carl's Farm is a place that we have gone to before. It's not usually one of our continued hotspot areas. But we do have a high coordination rate with Thornton and Carl's Farm, because on the backside of Carl's Farm, that is City of Thornton. So this is also touching on your question. When the encampment happens to be on the Thornton side, we will coordinate with that city to bring services, or what Thornton provides for people experiencing homelessness is an outreach approach. And so their outreach team will be called to go over there. If an encampment is happening on private property, then we really do need residents to call that in, specifically the residents that own the property, because they're the ones that can choose to take action on that encampment. Very rare instances will the city take action on a private piece of property without, we don't really do it without instruction of the owner of the property. So if there's a higher level of concern, I encourage those residents to reach out to the crew and let us know where they are, because we can help figure out if that's a North Glen concern or a Thornton concern. And then especially if there's shopping carts and that sort of thing, then we can help get those abandoned properties cleaned up.
Thank you. That's very good information to pass along, to make sure that those, that information, those calls are being made constantly. Thank you for everything you do. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
That was great. Appreciate it so much. Okay, next discussion item, the electronic participation policy. City Clerk Small will introduce this item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So this is another follow-up item from the City Council team building event in January, where City Council directed staff to bring back other city policies specific to 2 items. The first one being electronic participation in non-emergency situations in executive sessions, and then also whether the electronic participation policies apply to boards and commissions. So staff surveyed 13 municipalities in the metro area. That information has been included in a table that is an attachment to the staff memo. But I did want to summarize the information. that is in that table. So of the 13 municipalities surveyed, 9 allow electronic participation in executive session, 3 do not allow it, 1 would probably allow it, and that is, we talked to their staff, that is because their policy is silent on the matter. Nobody has tried to participate in exec session electronically yet, but staff believes that they would be allowed to do so. And then of the 9 municipalities that do allow participation in executive session electronically, most of those cities do so with some sort of confirmation or certification from the council members. They're based on a set of rules that they've also implemented. And those can include a statement or affirmation that they are the only person in the room during the executive session, that no one else has access to hear or see the executive session or has access to the materials that have been provided by staff, that they are prohibited from recording or transmitting the executive session or any of the materials from the session. And then some cities, you'll notice, also require a vote among council to allow remote members to participate in the executive session electronically. And then regarding whether the policies apply to boards and commissions, 4 policies specifically state that they do apply to boards and commissions. 2 of the policies specifically say that they are only for city council, and then 7 policies are silent on the matter. They simply are council policies, rules of order and procedure, and they don't address the applicability to boards and commissions. As a reminder, a copy of the city's current electronic participation policy was also included in the packet. And North Glen's current policy allows council members to participate electronically in executive sessions with no explicit rules included. And the policy is specific to city council. However, some of the city's boards may address the use of electronic participation in their own bylaws. For example, the Community Co-Production Policing Advisory Board has recently evaluated their bylaws, and they do have a section in there that says that members could participate electronically consistent with the city council's policy. So there's that information as well. So staff is providing this information for council's input and feedback tonight, and we're happy to answer any questions regarding potential revisions that council may want to our existing policy.
Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As it will probably surprise none of my fellow Dias members after Saturday's discussion around technology, I would like to have a very tech-focused and forward policy around this. I think specifically when it applies to boards and commissions, if people can attend by Zoom, it just broadens the amount of people who might be willing to apply and serve on boards. Because of family situations or health, ability, I just think we could get a lot more diversity on our boards and commissions there. And so I think maybe like adopting like a bylaws like CCPP did that reflects our position as city council would be exceptional. And then when it comes to executive sessions, I think like a standard policy of like, no one else is in the room, you have a secure connection, all that thing. I mean, I think maybe Eleanor attended one exec session while I was on maternity leave with me, but I don't know how much she remembers at a couple weeks old. But I think that seems fair and balanced in that situation.
Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too am also in agreement with Councilmember Burns. And in looking at some of the other municipalities, I really liked, in regards to executive session, what was policy summarized for the city, county of Broomfield, city of Golden, and Lafayette, which generally says that the participating member needs to certify that they are the only person in the room. And I think we're all responsible adults. I think that's seems to be sufficient for the purposes of executive communication. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
One thing I just would like to, throw out there is occurs to me, people are traveling and they're in a hotel room or whatever. But if you have some like earbuds, and if there was another person in the room, they wouldn't be able to hear anybody else's comments. They would just be able to hear, let's say if it was me, me speak. Is that, would that somehow fit in this okay? Is that okay? Is it not okay? Just ask.
I would think if that person can see what's on your screen, if you had, that might be a concern. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with saying that. I just, it just occurred to me that there might be a situation, for example, traveling in a hotel room where that might.
Cory, are there pieces that you would like to speak to?
Not in terms of what the parameters of the policy are, but just what the council should be aware of, in the sense that this is the highest level of confidentiality. And, I'll use myself as an example. I would be concerned in my home, even with the doors closed, in my office, that others could hear. Historically, Northglen's electronic participation policy actually predated COVID and was used as a guide by many other municipalities after the fact when COVID hit. But more than anything, with executive sessions, it's really for you all to govern yourselves in terms of that high level of confidentiality and what you think is most appropriate. The only issue in the electronic participation policy that I would recommend be retained, that I do feel strongly about, it does relate to the quasi-judicial proceedings, because when you are appearing remotely, there are things in terms of evaluating witnesses and evaluating what evidence that frankly just isn't the same remotely as it is in person.
So I'm gonna weigh in a little bit. I've also had conversations with my colleagues about some of this stuff. And so thank you, first of all, City Clerk Small, for pulling all of this information together. I believe that the job that we do is a public service. And I believe that as much as we can attend in person, we should. I also believe that if you need rest, if you need time with your family, you should take time off. I was saddened to see post-COVID that we just started working ourselves to death. And there should still be vacation time for council members. There should still be sick time, maternity leave for council members. I don't believe that we should have to attend if we should be refueling with family or getting better because we're ill. And I watched us as a body after COVID not take that time. And I don't know why that was. And I feel like the majority of our work should be in person. The electronic participation policy, while we may feel, I think you used the term adult, we may feel like we are adults that can make that decision. The policy is also going to go forward when we are not here. It's a policy decision. It's not a protocol. It's not an agreement of these 9 people. And I think we should definitely keep the quasi-judicial piece, and I believe we should have executive sessions in person. If it, turns out to be a night that we can't all gather, we can reschedule it. We have in the past. But it puts us at risk, and there have been times in my last 6 years where we've had council members' spouses that also have jobs in and near the work that we do, and they take that information forward. Or they whisper their input into the meeting from off camera. And it just violates the whole purpose of it. And so I feel strongly that we need to keep it. This policy does also, we are managing ourselves, but I do think it's important to have it written down. So it's just my 2 cents. I don't see very many other. Councilmember Goff.
I would agree. I mean, I think people should be able to participate in boards and commissions and in our regular council meetings and study sessions remotely, electronically, whatever you want. But I do feel the same way about executive session and certainly quasi-judicial. So I would go with that. I don't know if we need to spell out for boards and commissions or not. but yeah, I agree.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Goff. That's pretty much where I was going. I do have to agree that at least for the executive session piece, I think that we should maintain that as an in-person, only required attendance, as the mayor said. I do agree that we should keep the electronic participation policy, just to allow for more equality, with the understanding that, you know, we monitor ourselves and you should try to be here in person, as the mayor had a good point in saying. But I will also stand by, I think that we should definitely word it so that executive sessions are in person and quasi-judicial. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I just want to add one thing as I'm listening to this. There is, in the current policy, and I would certainly recommend it be retained regardless of where council ends, the last section matters, which is the reasonable accommodation. So, for example, if someone were out on maternity leave, council could determine that that person, within the meaning of the ADA, could appear on a limited basis remotely. So your current policy does provide that flexibility for someone that falls under the ADA. And I just wanted to identify that as another piece that might give flexibility in the event something significant happened where a council member could not meet in person for a significant amount of time.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with the last 3 council members and the mayor that we have to keep make sure there's no security getting left out there. And, you know, we have to make sure that we're keeping all the vital information here amongst us and our leadership. So, I moved it so that we keep executive session private, confidential, as well as the quasi-judicial. But I do agree that we gotta keep it so that our boards and commissions are able to still work how they've been working, so we can work with people that, you know, maybe I just wanna make sure that that part stays intact, but we just gotta take care of our security and, make sure that there's no information that's getting out there that into the hands of other people that should have it. Thank you.
Councilmember Condo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In general, I would agree with the whole notion that quasi-judicial, you have to be in person. I still would be of the thinking, I am of the thinking that if somebody can certify that they are in a private space, that they can participate in an executive session remotely. And certainly, a normal council meeting, I think participating virtually has its merits, because quite honestly, relative to other cities, we meet pretty frequently, and we have a pretty full docket. And I just recall a couple times when, without the participation of a remote council member in a regular city meeting, we would not have had a quorum, and we would not have been able to get business done. Not a frequent occurrence, but I think you want to make sure that you have that option available so that we can continue to act on the government's business. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo what City Attorney Hoffman had to say about maternity leave. I mean, it's kind of like the elephant in the room, and like, you know, we live in a broader country and a state that really doesn't provide leave. So like, if that's what we want to have a policy for, then let's do a policy for that maybe as well. And I also think, you know, it is Women's History Month, and like, it is historical that I'm here with young children. And like, I don't think that should discount, like, if I want to join, that's my decision, I think. And I want to be, and like, I think like that's where you strike the balance between like, I can listen in on Zoom, stay up to date, feed my baby, everything is kosher. I don't think, I mean, I think like we're all pretty good about taking, maybe we could be better about taking time when we need to. But I think, again, like, this is a public service position, and even if I'm not physically in this room, I think, like, it's a disservice to the public to not even show up at all, in my opinion. I can see how, you know, past experiences in quasi-judicial settings have led to less than agreeable situations, and I would be fine having those in person if we can you know, maybe then it's like, okay, if I'm taking vacation, we can let City Manager Guyer know enough time in advance. Maybe that would be a good policy to add to this, like a 2-week flex period to be like, hey, I'm gonna be out these dates, so we can all plan accordingly, so it's not all of a sudden like you're gone, we have to, and staff has to scramble. I think that would be a good compromise.
I think that makes sense, and I don't want my comments to give you the impression I don't support that choice. I just want to make sure people understand they have the choice to stay home.
Yeah.
Because you get paid no matter what, it is kind of like leave.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure people know
Yeah.
that they have that opportunity. Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I definitely agree with the quasi judicial in person. The executive session. Now I feel like we've kind of gone back and forth. I suppose I would say probably do that in person, just because if we don't, my concern is that will get taken advantage of. I mean, as someone who throughout the pandemic conducted therapy via Zoom, yes, there is a bit of a difference to doing in person versus versus telehealth. But I still think it's also a viable alternative. The biggest thing being that confidentiality piece of, is there someone in the room? So I think I could be swayed to, do the executive sessions in person. That being said, I do appreciate, Madam Mayor, your comments about, kind of taking time for ourselves and doing that, because, I think it's tempting to kind of work through cold, maybe when we should. Yeah, so that's just some.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I stand by executive session and quasi judicial, but as a grandma who just saw a daughter go through that same struggle of having a small child and trying to work, absolutely want to support women that way. I think we should. I think our city attorney said that would be, we could cover that in that policy, in that last sentence that says, and maybe we add it, maybe it's specific, so it shows that we do support women who are nursing a child. But my addition here was that I noticed, who is it? I think Edgewater? Inglewood has a policy in there that allows a person who cannot attend an executive session in person to listen to the session in the city clerk's office. I wonder if there's some ability to do something like that, where a person who cannot attend can catch up on the executive session where it's in a secure area.
Well, coming soon to an agenda near you will be something where this council will be recording its executive sessions, except that will not, attorney-client privilege communications still will not be recorded. So that could apply for everything except the attorney-client privilege. I can certainly tell you that I've had many clients that do not allow remote participation in exec sessions where, as it relates to the attorney-client privilege communications, I have a separate communication with them about what occurred and convey the same information in the exec session they would have otherwise missed. It's not the same, certainly, because it doesn't have the back and forth, but at least the base information can still be provided.
Thank you. I do feel like that is a good balanced and fair approach. And I just think the liability is too high to have executive sessions remote. I personally, thank you.
To follow up really quickly on Councilmember Burns, we get the tentative future agendas regularly, and I do support the idea of communicating with staff about if we know we're going to be gone. I think it's important, and that helps schedule. Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I suppose there's one caveat that I would like to have us consider, and that is, what if we have a COVID 2.0 or some other disaster?
It's in the policy, Councilmember Kondo.
Well, I'm talking about for executive session.
Well, if there's emergency situation, section B.
Okay.
City Attorney Hoffman, can you speak to that for Councilmember Kondo?
No, that's right. The emergency situations is broadly covers the entire meeting.
Okay, gotcha. So if, I just want to be patently clear. If for some reason or another there was a national disaster or a regional disaster that prevented us from physically coming together, we do have a safety valve to allow us to meet.
Yes,
All
sir.
variety of meetings, maybe with the exception of quasi-judicial, although we probably won't be doing land decision stuff during a disaster, but we could at least have an executive session virtually.
Yes, and very specifically, the discussion we're having tonight, as I understand it, is under Section A, subsection 3, related to exec sessions, which is non-emergency situations. Whereas the next section regarding emergency situations does not have a carve-out for executive session.
Okay, understand.
That's how we operated all through.
You know, for Megan, I'm just thinking about the zombie apocalypse.
Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for a bit of history, since I wasn't on the council, how did you all navigate kind of quasi-judicial and executive sessions during the pandemic? Good.
The rules remain the same for quasi-judicial. There was still, and, you know, frankly, there were not many, I'm not sure there were any quasi-judicial proceedings during the height of the pandemic when it was fully remote. But as to executive sessions, they were remote as well.
Oh, okay. So if I'm to understand this correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, under A subsection 3, electronic partition may also be available to a city council member during an executive session. We're discussing changing that to
The opposite.
the opposite, okay. Gotcha.
So we've heard quite a few voices. I wasn't sure if Councilmember Walker or Roper wanted to weigh in tonight. It's up to you.
I think I agree with the consensus of, I think probably the best for and just the dignity of what we have happening, having the executive sessions be in person and locally, that would be best for us.
Obviously, the quasi judicial needs to be in person, but I like Member Tim's idea of being able to possibly listen to the executive session. Of course, that's going to be recorded, but I didn't know if we had that planned for that. So I'd like to be able to do that.
And one caveat, if council does go that way, it has to be a fairly prompt listening to the recording, because the retention schedule for an executive session recording is 90 days under the statute, so it would have to be done fairly promptly.
Okay.
That is it. Thank you.
All right, City Clerk Small, do you have enough information?
So what I heard is there's a consensus to require executive sessions to be attended in person during non-emergency situations, potentially with an option to listen to the recording of the executive session within a certain period of time. I heard a consensus to allow electronic participation for boards and commissions to increase access to participation and also hopefully increase diversity on the boards. So I think that would be helpful to include in the council's policy, just to make it more clear for all of the boards and commissions. The one thing that okay, never mind. Got it. Yeah, just close the loop on that, sorry.
Councilmember Goff?
It occurs to me, if every board and commission is going to be hybrid, whatever, electronic, don't they all have to be in this room? Or is hybrid not electronic? I mean, I don't know. The DICE board has had problems with finding a place for all 11 people to do it hybrid. So I don't know I hate to throw the monkey wrench in the last minute, but it just occurs to me.
Well, I think right now, Section 5 on the last page of the policy says the policy shall only apply to regular and special meetings, including study sessions of the city council. So I think that would be the place where we would potentially broaden it to say that other boards and commissions are authorized to have electronic participation, and then they can perhaps work through those issues with the city to determine how best to do that, but giving the authority to allow it.
So we're saying they have permission to do it, and good luck figuring it out.
Well, working with city staff to
yeah,
figure out if that
yeah.
means you've got to have a different
Different room or
meeting
whatever.
date to,
Yeah.
yes.
I think the idea was too, that when the new city hall is built, that there will be more options to do, or more rooms or something to do this. I don't. Heather's nodding her head.
I think that's a fair statement. You'll have access to the council chambers with additional spaces in the staff seating area that can be utilized. You also have the community rooms, their conference rooms. So, we're making do with what we have currently, and we're well on our way to moving into a new facility in August. So, I think it is what it is in terms of the flexibility, but just work with your staff liaison and, I was aware of the challenge with the last DICE board meeting in terms of the setup of the dais and the existing technology, so.
Okay, all right, as long as, we can all make do until the new city hall opens.
Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you,
have your
Madam
hand up
Mayor.
again?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
So with regard to city clerk small, would it be helpful to, so we don't have to kind of come back and have this discussion? Can we say like 60 days, 30 days, so it's within that 90-day timeframe of listing to the executive session?
I think it would just be while the tape is available, because again, the retention schedule will be that 90 days that they are destroyed.
So if I want a day 89, I'm in luck. Day 91.
And I always recommend, if you miss a meeting, read the packet and all of that, but then connect with your ward teammate or myself about what you have missed. And that way, you can catch up faster. Than 3 months down the road. You might miss something. Okay, well, thank you so much. Okay, well, that's all we have. Unless you would like to speak and public invited to be heard. No? All right, well, we'll see if there's anyone on the phone. If there's anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council, you can press *6 to unmute for public invited to be heard. Yeah, I didn't think so. All right, there being no further business, we are adjourned.
Yeah. Always carry a lozenge.
Yeah, I went down the